Hey, Larken Rose here. Oh goody, another example of two sets of unthinking, gullible status pawns being played like puppets by psychopaths and being at war with each other, and neither of them realizing that you're empowering your rulers to abuse you and the other twits you're arguing with. In this case, I'm talking about the rash of vandalisms of Tesla cars by... There's so many levels of stupid. By leftists who've heard that this is a thing to do because Nazis or something. So let's go vandalize Teslas. Now, there's so many levels that make this just colossally stupid. It's also evil. Like, don't mess up other people's property because you disagree with them. But in this case, even that, they didn't even think it that far through. You know that Teslas already existed before the current Trump stuff and that. You know they already existed. You know that a lot of the customers, probably most of them, were left-leaning, were liberals buying electric vehicles. So you have a bunch of liberals vandalizing the vehicles of liberals and drawing swastikas on them and keying them and lighting them on fire and stuff. Because we're going to show those fascists. So many levels of stupid. Just so many levels of utter stupidity. And they're all copycats. They're doing it because other people are doing this. They're standing up against the man. No, they're not. They're just vandalizing their neighbor's stuff. And too dumb to realize that's not how you resist authoritarian injustice. Now, I'm going to just barely refrain from giving a lecture on why almost everything the leftists complain about Trump and their stooges, not quite everything, but most of what they complain about is patently stupid and massively hypocritical. Now, there is a lot that the Trump administration and Republicans in general do that is authoritarian and immoral and statist BS that should be objected to and condemned and resisted, but the left gets almost all of it wrong. And so they object to the wrong things, and then in their own heads they think they're resisting that by targeting the wrong people and doing the wrong things in a way that just feeds the machine. So, yeah, vandalizing somebody else's property makes you an obnoxious jackass. And a bunch of these people get caught on tape because Teslas have cameras built in them, you dumbasses. And there's the, professors and stuff getting caught. And, of course, you know, the usual thing if they get caught. It's not fair that you vandalized somebody else's stuff. Most of the time, you probably had no idea who it even was, who owned it. It was probably another liberal. But you did that stupid thing, you got caught, and then, oh my gosh, there are consequences to you being a stupid asshole messing with other people's property. Like, wow, who could ever have thought? So, yeah, I don't have any sympathy for these dumbasses. And what they're doing, is doing absolutely nothing to reduce the authoritarian crap that Trump and his gang of stooges is doing that actually deserves condemnation and resistance, of which there is plenty. But vandalizing your neighbor's car is not how you fight that. It's not how you resist it. That is, however, a great way to empower authoritarian solutions. Now, a lot of the time, this sort of thing will end up being false flag and controlled opposition. Do I dare mention Hitler? Because he knew how to do a bunch of stuff, blame it on somebody else, and then bring in the authoritarianism to save the day. In this case, I don't think much, if any, of this, of the vandalism of Teslas, is even that. I don't think they even needed to do that because there's enough brain-dead leftists who are so emotional and so unthinking and so muddle-headed that they're just like, I'm righteous, I'm the good one. What did you do? What do you think it was going to accomplish? I messed up that car. Oh, good for you. That car was really oppressing you, wasn't it? you dumbass. Do you even know who owned it? Remember the thing about leftists being for environmentally friendly now, and now you're firebombing cars? Electric cars. So many levels of dumb. But the problem isn't just the vandalism, which is pretty bad. But, like, I'd rather have them, like, vandalizing property than using violence against human beings. It's a lower level of stupid, immoral crap. They still deserve unpleasant things to be done to them as a result of it. But you're empowering the authoritarian monstrosity. You're making it so the monstrosity can play the victim and say, oh, look what they're doing to us. So now Trump and Tesla are playing the victim. These are cars that people already bought. Tesla is not the victim of this. I mean, the private vandalism of cars. They already made their money off of selling that car to somebody else. The victim is somebody you probably don't know, and there's a good chance that it's a Democrat, you dumbass. That wasn't Elon's car, you moron. Somebody already paid for it. You just hurt some random person you didn't know because that's the thing to do to fight the man. You're an idiot. You're just an absolute idiot, and you kind of deserve unpleasant things to be done for you. To you because you're being an idiot and damaging people's property. And you're not doing anything to actually like resist or punish Trump or Elon. Never mind how misguided your criticisms of them are anyway. You're not even criticizing all the things that they should be criticized for. But here's the bigger problem. Because if someone's just a misguided dumbass and they like vandalize somebody's car that had nothing to do with anything they're even objecting to, okay, you're a dumbass, you're a vandal. Something unpleasant should probably be inflicted upon you one way or another. Even if you go, but I was righteous and I'm virtuous for carving swastikas on cars. No, you're not. You're an idiot. You're a misguided idiot. But it's much, much worse than that. Because this sort of stupidity feeds the machine. Because then they can go, this is terrorism. And now is where I'm going to shift over to bashing the right-leaning, the Trumpites, the conservative, kind of sort of conservative statists who are also falling for this game and also empowering authoritarianism and arbitrary federal centralized authoritarian power because they're being emotional idiots too. Now, in this case, it's hard to match the level of emotional idiocy of the people vandalizing their neighbor's car while thinking they're getting back at some random vague notion of somebody who made the car like years earlier. So dumb. So in this case, it's almost impossible to reach that level of stupidity on the right. But what the right is doing in this case is pretty damn stupid. They're cheering for it when Mango Mussolini says, this is terrorism, we're going to go after this, we're going to prosecute this. Show me where in the Constitution vandalizing cars is a federal matter. Oh, you can't, because it's not. But all it took was some dumbass liberals vandalizing some cars for you to cheer for just throwing the Constitution out the window and cheering for a federal police power, which, by the way, the Supreme Court has said the federal government under the Constitution has nothing approaching a police power. Now, zero conservatives these days seem to support that and abide by it. But that's the reality of what the Constitution says. Of course, conservatives don't really give a shit. They just pretend to give a shit when it happens to serve their agenda. But when their authoritarian agenda includes, let's federalize simple vandalism, well, Constitution's out the window. So they're cheering as Pam Bondi, who's doing a great job of covering up and hiding the Epstein evidence, showing what a bunch of horrendous pedophiles have done. Good job covering that up, Pam. And Patel, and now Dan What's-His-Face. They're all complicit and actively covering that up while pretending they were going to reveal it. But don't worry. The fact that they're ignoring a prolonged widely known operation for sexually victimizing minors. Well, never mind that, because they're really determined to go after people scratching cars. Well, that's good. That's where that's what matters. And it's definitely a federal matter, right? Because Donald Trump says so. This is the worst. This is so unfair. Never before has anything... Shut the fuck up. This is not a federal matter. And if you think it is, you're a dumbass. And you're perfectly playing into the game, which empowers an arbitrary, unlimited, centralized authoritarian power. And that's exactly what's happening. When they're having press releases of Pam Bondi, when she's not busy covering up for pedophiles, proudly announcing that they're prosecuting someone for vandalizing a car. Really? That's what the federal government's supposed to be doing? Oh, wait, it's because it's terrorism. And if you just stick the label of terrorism on something, well, then it becomes a federal matter. Really? Show me where in the Constitution terrorism is a federal matter. Show me where in the Constitution the federal government has any power to police anything. Good luck, but you just don't care, do you? Because if you, on the right, can be riled up to go, this must stop because this is outrageous. That's a little bit outrageous. I mean, in the grand scale of things, I think Trump and his stooges applauding the murder of civilians in Yemen is a little more important than some cars getting ruined. But yeah, the people ruining the cars are being assholes. Something should be done about them, but not by the federal government. In fact, not by any government, because government shouldn't exist. But don't worry, we're going to make an enemy and then use that enemy as an excuse to increase federal, centralized, concentrated authoritarian power, arbitrary, unlimited authoritarian power, and conservatives who pretend to give a shit about the Constitution are going to cheer for it. And both sides are just playing along. They're playing into the game to empower the monstrosity that is going to stomp on both sides. Hey, conservatives, remember when you were all upset that documents leaked, I think they were FBI, talking about the Constitution and saying things that are sort of anti-government, that might mean somebody's a terrorist. Remember when you were all upset about that and describing how wrong that is? You can't just say someone's a terrorist because they say things you don't like or they're anti-government. Oh, but if they scratch a car, now they're terrorists. Unleash authoritarian Nazi bullshit. Because Trump has been treated so unfairly. It's that easy to trick you? That's pathetic. It's pathetic on both sides. The liberals doing this, just doing the dumb copycat. Oh, is this what we're doing now? Hey, righteous liberals, where were you when millions and millions of people were being coerced into taking an injection of something they knew nothing about? Oh, you were cheering for the authoritarians, weren't you? You were voting for them, and you were condemning the victims, weren't you? Because you don't give a shit about freedom or bodily autonomy. You care if somebody wants to have an abortion, but if somebody doesn't want to get an injection of some mystery thing that's totally unnecessary, then you don't give a shit if your political party tells you to not give a shit. And if your political party tells you to go vandalize some cars, or just, they won't tell you directly out loud, but they'll sort of hint it and point it out and publicize it, so a bunch of copycat morons will go do some vandalism. Yeah, that's how you fight the man, by doing the things that the man told you to do. But don't worry, because the other side is somehow even worse, even though it's not another side. They're the same ruling class. And they're playing both sets of dupes against each other. And this is why they do this. It's because it works. Now imagine what happens if only one side falls for it. If a bunch of liberals were like, let's go vandalize some Teslas, and it doesn't occur to them, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure this isn't Trump's car, parked by the road over here. It's somebody who paid for it, maybe a Democrat, like, why are we doing this? This seems really dumb. Okay, they don't have the mental wherewithal to like think that far into it and not be asshole vandals. But let's say just that happened and a bunch of people like vandalized Teslas. That'll show somebody else who doesn't own that car. Imagine if the other side, the Republicans, the conservatives, the ones in power, actually had a rational pro-freedom response, which never in a million years would happen. But see if you can imagine it. Might take all your imagination. And they said, that's dumb. They shouldn't be doing that. That's pretty bad. But it's also a state issue. They'll be, investigated and prosecuted at state level because it's simple vandalism. That's all it is. So yeah, we don't even need to keep talking about it. And we don't need to give them publicity by talking about it and making a big deal. It's just some idiots vandalizing some cars. They'll be prosecuted and whatever. Okay, on with things that actually matter, which a whole lot more than some cars being messed up. That's what actual conservatives would say. That's what people who actually care about the Constitution would say. But obviously that's not Trump. They will absolutely publicize this all over the place and do press releases about it to make everybody think this is the big deal that matters. Oh my gosh, some cars getting vandalized. We have to crack down on these terrorists and then just uses an excuse for authoritarian bullshit. So it only works as well as it does when both sets of idiot puppet voters, Republican and Democrat, both fall for the game. Because if one of them falls for it and vandalizes a bunch of cars and the other one goes, well, that's obnoxious, I hope somebody stops them and I hope bad things happen to them, but it's not a federal matter and it doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Let's get back to what actually matters. Poof, it evaporates, it's gone, nobody cares. There's no press releases, there's no media coverage constantly about this stupid thing that doesn't really matter. And then a few idiot vandals are prosecuted or whatever happens, and it goes away. It's only when both sets of idiot dupes can be riled up to yell at each other and scream at each other, and they're both empowering the machine that's going to stomp on both of them. And obviously, in the other direction, if there weren't Democrats vandalizing Teslas, there would be nothing to trigger the conservatives to go, this is terrorism, you can't blah, 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 stupid bullshit. So there would have been no trigger to respond to. Trigger, whine, have a tantrum, yell at each other, empower the ruling class. That is all of history. That's all of American history. It's all of human history. This side falls for bullshit, has a tantrum. This side falls for that tantrum, has a tantrum at the people having a tantrum. They scream and yell at each other and hate each other, and then they empower the machine that stomps on all of them. That is politics in a nutshell. That's all it ever is. In fact, soon I'll be doing another video about the war on drugs and how the Trump goons are recycling that bullshit excuse for authoritarian control. But that template is how it always goes. The ruling class will either take a real problem or exaggerate a problem or create a problem or just make up a problem and find a way to make people hate each other and have both of them clamoring for an authoritarian solution. So now you have this stupid thing of vandalism. Like, that's pretty low on the scale of what matters. It's obnoxious, it's rude, bad things should happen to the people who do it. But meanwhile, civilians are being murdered by the war machine, like they always are. If you care more about some random person's Tesla being keyed than you do about innocent people being blown to bits by Trump and his fellow warmongers, your moral code is a little bit skewed. I'll just put it that way, because saying that is nicer than saying you're a demented, deranged piece of shit. But both sides fall for it, and if both sides fall for it, unless both sides fall for it, doesn't work. If only one side falls for it and the other side goes, yeah, we don't like that, but, whatever. We're not going to cheer for more authoritarian power to fix it. That's dumb. Then it doesn't work. It takes two to tango, and it takes two sets of idiotic, gullible, political dupes to cheer for authoritarian solutions to everything, to keep empowering the monstrosity. And all of you Democrats and all of you Republicans are doing exactly that. You are all empowering your own abusers and too clueless to even notice. Meanwhile, when some weirdo extremist like me comes along and says, I don't want either of you abused. I don't want either of you extorted. I don't want either of you violently dominated by an authoritarian ruling class. That's about the only time both of you band together to argue against me and say, oh, not having a ruling class that we all bow to, that's crazy. That would be chaos. That would be anarchy. Well, yeah, by definition, the political definition, it would be anarchy, as in rule by no one, which is what the word anarchy actually means. But it's a little bit sad when about the only thing that the left and right agree on is that, well, we definitely need to keep bowing to a ruling class made up of parasitic psychopaths. Now let's bicker about the details. That's the extent of your ability to question things, really? But I'm sure we're going to keep hearing news about Teslas being vandalized as long as both sides can use it to serve their political agenda. And it's not even both sides. It's both faces of the one ruling class can use it to keep you bitching at each other while they increase their power over all of you. Way to fall for that again.